Children who start school from now on will grow up to be workers and leaders in a digital world that will demand new skills and new ways of thinking. New technologies are opening up ways to transform practices and cultures in schools, and as future educators, the onus of preparing children to be technology ready lies on us. So today, we have Ms. Tarunama Roy, Principal DPPS Delhi, for this online session on expectations from teachers in post COVID times. We welcome you, ma'am. We are privileged to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. Am I audible, Prabhashri? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. I would like to invite Ms. Namrata Singh, Professor BLMCE, to introduce our esteemed guest.
Good morning, all. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our esteemed speaker for today's session, Ms. Tarunima Roy. Ma'am is the headmistress of Delhi Police Public School, New Police Line, Delhi, and has been a part of school management since its inception in 2005. Ms. Roy has over 25 years of rich experience as a teacher, an administrator, and a head of the school. She continues to mentor, guide, encourage, and contribute to various functions of administration, finance, management, and leads a full-fledged staff of qualified teacher, administrator, and advisor. Under her strong leadership, her positive attitude and vast experience in all spheres of management has helped the school grow into an institution of repute today. I thank you, ma'am, for coming and taking your valuable time for us and for our student. And now I would like to call Dr. Gitika Datta, Principal BLMC, to welcome ma'am. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Most respected Ms. Tarunima Roy. We are very, very happy and honored to have you here with us. We were really looking forward to you addressing our students as, we have listened to you before also, and it has been an exceptionally, wonderful and educative experience, not just for the students, but the all faculty members as well. As we know that, we have even Bhageshwari has been she keeps on telling me about what kind of sensitivities and sensibilities you really exhibit, and and we are happy to have you. Our college placement cell is organizing a series of special lectures for the benefit of especially our second year students who are going to graduate from this college and be a part of the educative workforce. So it was very imperative for us to have people who can actually tell them what is happening on ground and what is the real expectations of the schools and how things have changed because of the pandemic and how things are going, what kind of expectations now the schools are having from the new entrants in the field. So we couldn't think of a more appropriate person than you. So we are very, very happy to have you and privileged and honored that you have taken our time for us. We know that, you are very busy with all the, with the Delhi Police Administration, and I know things that keep on coming up. So we really welcome you, and we look forward to your perspectives on the theme of the day. So, ma'am, now as they said, the screen is all yours. So we
Thank you so much. In fact, to begin with, I think Shivangi has done a bit of my job already. She's already spoken about the COVID times and what are the needs required. So, but I begin again because I'm expected to talk about expectations from teachers in post-COVID times. So, the jargon itself has changed now. Earlier, it used to be BC and AD. Then it used to be post 9/11. We all know what happened. And now it's a common terminology, pre-COVID and post-COVID. It is a huge pandemic. The entire world has been affected. And the most affected, in fact, are the children and the education system. Thank God for technology, all the teachers were able to quickly adapt to the new system and gear towards taking classes online. What we forget is that the students, although we feel that they are very tech savvy, much more tech savvy than our generation, they may be good at playing games, using apps, but are they really very good at online classes? Do they give their full attention in online classes? Do they even attend online classes? Or sometimes they're clever enough to even just switch on and show that they're there, because it's not mandatory to keep the video on always. So these are certain things, certain issues that the teachers have been facing the entire year. You as final year B.Ed students will very soon be joining schools, and hopefully for offline classes, again a jargon which is being used very commonly, offline and online. Basically it is physical classes, but the pandemic is not over, which is a sad thing. Again, there is an upswing up, and there are many cases in Delhi also, Mumbai also. There's been a lockdown, partial lockdown. Schools are being closed, which is a very sad thing, because all of us as educationists were looking forward to schools being opened very soon. And within the community also, wherever we were meeting teachers, principals, there was this common talk as to what do you think and when do you think the schools will begin. And initially, I mean, in the month of January, or let's say February, most of them had this opinion that in all probability, if not April, maybe in July. Once we are through with the board exams, I'm sure the schools will start for senior secondary, and then followed by middle school and then primary, maybe in a phased manner. But now again, there is a question mark. The other day, in fact, I met the principal of a government school, very senior principal. He happened to say, ma'am, you're talking about opening of schools. Here, we are contemplating on whether the CBSE is going to scrap off exams. I mean, this was just off the record conversation. He was just sharing, because now there is a doubt about everything that is going to happen in the next 1 or 2 months, depending on the situation. And the situation is not improving. Suddenly, it has started deteriorating. But we cannot give up. As education, especially, we cannot give up, because the future of the students is in our hands. They are dependent on us. They look forward to the school and the teachers to take them forward. Now, you will say that, ma'am, fine, we are there, and whatever instructions we will get, we'll obviously work on. But what is the preparedness that is required after this 1 year long of online classes? Now, I don't know whether you've been able to take online classes as students, because here in my school also, I could not accommodate this B.Ed students for practice teaching, because the whole thing was online. And I don't know whether you have taken classes. I presume maybe you have, some of them must have. I don't know what problems you have faced, but I'll share the things which my teachers have faced. And now there has to be preparedness for the next session, because we are again looking at a few more months, if not the entire academic session, through online mode. Now, students already have gone through a year of no school. No school here doesn't mean no education, but physically no school. What they've actually missed is not classes or information or education. They've missed the other aspect, which is the most important aspect of school life. Now, you'll all agree that at the click of a button, you can get any information. But is that knowledge? No, it is not. But there comes the role of a teacher. A teacher is the one who, through her experience, will change that information into knowledge, so that the children are able to retain it for a longer time. And that is the basic aim of education, so that you can understand, analyze, comprehend, and then again apply elsewhere. And these are the basics which you need for all 21st century skills also, which Shivangi also mentioned, which is very, very necessary. If children are not getting that platform to communicate one-to-one, then where do the communication skills come in? You cannot develop that. You can only develop technological skills sitting at home. What about the other skills? They are actually missing out on all this. And above all these skills, the most important thing is two things. One is that they have faced this year of no school, no classes, no interaction with teachers, no interaction with their peer group, they have actually faced a kind of trauma. And I'm using a very strong term called trauma. I mean, using the strong word trauma is because we are not being able to actually gauge how much and what they are feeling, because all children are not able to express it openly. They express it to other means. If they've missed this bond, this socio-emotional bond which is missed for a year, they're actually showing it through other ways. And that is where the teachers have to come in. They have to read these signs, these subtle signs of maybe anger, which was not there in children, some kind of aggression. It could be bold, it could be subtle, but some kind of aggression. Sometimes you may feel that the child was very polite when she or he used to come to school. Now, I mean, somehow he's become very rude. Why? I really don't know. Now, these questions, if they come to your mind, you have to address them. And it's not that a school can have 10 special educators or psychologists to take care of it, or counselors to take care of it. No. Each and every teacher has to be a guide, a mentor, a facilitator at this point of time. So the foremost thing is observe these signs. They may not be pronounced, they could be subtle. Be very good listeners, because children at this point of time, as and when they join the school, they need someone to listen to their problems. And you have to goad them to even come out with that problem. They may not initially tell you. I'll just share a small example, real life example. There was a student who did not want to give her board exams. She wanted to withdraw. So she stopped online classes, stopped responding to the school. Her parents stopped responding. Now, what was the reason? Nobody knew. The school also got panicky because, as you all know, there's a certain time limit for registration for CBSE. So they tried all means, but somehow they were not being able to get through. Finally, somebody suggested you send them a mail. If they're not responding on the phone, in fact, the phone was not ringing also, you send them a mail. I'm sure the mailing address exists and they will respond. So the school sent a mail to the parents. Finally, after a long while, in fact, they lost precious time. The parents finally responded, and they made, I mean, since the class teacher wanted to talk to the student directly, she was put online, and that too from a PCO booth, not a direct phone. I mean, not a mobile, which is a norm these days almost. And that is when, I mean, an entire session went on for between the class teacher and the student. That is when the class teacher realized what the problem was. See, when these things were happening, the first interpretation from the school was parents are callous about it. They don't care that there's a deadline for CBSE. The student probably just wants to evade exams. Probably she has phobia of facing the boards because she probably feels she's not prepared for it. But no, the problem was completely different. The situation was that this student used to live in a very affluent part of the city. Due to the COVID situation, her father lost his job. Due to that, they had to vacate the house because that was on company rolls. They didn't have any other place to settle in Delhi. They left for their hometown, which is actually a very small township, almost like a village outside Delhi. There was no internet facility out there. Since they had lost a lot monetarily also, she did not have access to many other gadgets which she had in Delhi. Everything culminated to this point where she actually slipped into depression and she did not want to continue with the classes. Preparedness for boards comes much later. So the situation is, the reason behind all this was entirely different. And when did the teacher unearth? After having a long conversation and being a good listener to that girl. So see, we presume many things. We feel people from affluent backgrounds, they do not have much problems. It is only the EWS section children who don't have an Android phone. Maybe they have not been able to attend classes, and we'll address that. When they come, we'll address that issue. But no, there could be many such issues which we tend to overlook. So we should not presume that this could happen or that could happen. Don't be a judge right in the beginning. That's very important. So first, listen. Prod the child to come out with it, and then reach the conclusion. And then last is how to help the child. That is very, very important, because losing one child also is I would say each child is an asset. Just like principals feel that all teachers are an asset for an institution, each child for us is also an asset. You lose that asset, it's a big loss. We don't want to do that at any cost. So the pandemic has had its effect in many areas. We need to look at all that when we rejoin. And even if some teachers are able to connect with them, like senior teachers in most schools now, offline classes were going on for 10th and 12th initially, followed by 9th and 11th also. And now, of course, CBSE practicals have also started. So they are physically meeting the teachers. But that, what they have missed, it's clearly visible in each child. I personally met the children when they came for these practical exams, and I could feel that, in each child, simple things which we all miss out. For example, class 11 students. Now we are all concentrating on 12th. Oh my God, the 12th standard students, they miss their classes also, their practical classes, which was so important. Then they missed out on a major part of their school life, that is the school farewell. They all look forward to the school farewell. They missed out on that. But what about 11th? 11th, in fact, most students have this in mind that that's the year to relax. We'll have a very good bonding with our friends. Some students join new schools also with the hope that, okay, and they upgrade also sometimes to a better school. Of course, for me, all schools are equal, but then there are gradations, and there are schools where they're able to give better infrastructure, better facilities. Children do look forward to that. They score a very good percentile in 10th with the hope that they will join this very good school. And then they will interact with students of that school. That also helps in many ways. Completely lost. Are we looking at all this? No, we are not. We're only looking at how to cover the syllabus, how should they get better marks, the percentage. But is the percentage the most important thing? It is important, no doubt, because the entire education system is based on that. Now, later, if your students don't get admission in colleges, teachers will be blamed. But that apart, this is also very important. And this is actually affecting the percentage. That is what we need to look into at this point of time. Besides this, as and when you join school, since most of you will be joining schools, maybe online also initially and later offline, what you all have to keep in mind is how to gain the confidence of parents. That's another issue which we are also facing, because Director of Education also had these guidelines that if the parents do not give their consent, students cannot come to school. If I don't wish to send my child, nobody can force me to do that. He can continue to study at home, and if I am confident, he'll straight away go for boards and practicals. That is it. He or she may stay at home. Then, and if you really want the students to come to school, how do you do that? So you have to gain confidence of the parents, because at times the children want to come to school because, of course, besides classes, their main aim is to bond with their peer. But the parents sometimes tell them not to, because it is not safe. Now, how to let them know, how to convince them that the school is a safe zone? For that, most important thing is you maintain all SOPs, all the guidelines laid down by the government. Sanitation, hygiene, these two things should be non-negotiable for all schools. Very, very important. Once that is done, if you feel that just trying to talk to the parents or sending them messages won't help, you could take up a resort like a walk through the school through a video. Do a small video clipping of the school. Show the parents, these are the steps we have taken to maintain the SOPs. That is when they'll gain confidence about the school, about the environment, and maybe your percentage of students attending school will increase, because that is what you're looking forward to. As it is, the teacher is coming to school, you will be going to school. And if only 5 students turn up, you will also be disheartened. Let's say the expected number is 25 and only 5 turn up. You'll definitely be disappointed, including the children who have come. Those 5 will also be looking forward to the other children coming. So it's not the children who can convince other children to come, because that convincing has already taken place. It is the parents who need to be reassured that the children are going to a safe place. Another thing, very, very important. All schools maintain a medical room, medical facilities. Besides that, all teachers should also be geared towards taking these steps, because as citizens of the city also, we have been following certain special norms when we've been going maybe in a public transport or taking a cab. We keep these things in mind. So when you go to school as teachers, besides the medical help, be alert at all times, so that this COVID appropriate behavior is always maintained. SOPs are all maintained at each point. So these are certain things that we need to look at, especially post COVID times. And also during these times, as in when, if you are required to join school, because I don't know whether trainees have been joining. Geetika ma'am would be able to tell me if trainees are joining school now or they're joining later.
Yeah, because the university swapped the semester, so we are sending our students for their school experience program in this month of April. April
Okay.
onwards.
They will be joining school.
They
I think there's been a lapse somewhere.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, they'll be joining school from 12th of April.
Okay, so they have been inducted in certain schools?
Yes, ma'am.
And they've faced interviews also already? Have they faced, they've already cleared the interviews?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, that is still pending because the vacancies are still not on.
Okay. Most schools have not advertised as of now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, but then 12th April, you're saying that they will be joining school for maybe their final exams?
No, ma'am. They are going to join schools for their preliminary school experience, for the practice teaching, ma'am.
For practice teaching, they'll be joining now. I'm talking about the final year students.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, they are still looking for jobs and they are teaching online. Some of them are teaching online. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In coaching centers and all.
Okay. So most of them have not joined school, but as you're saying, 12th April onwards, most of them will be joining some school or some platform to teach students directly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Most of it I have already spoken about. Now the other things that we need to cover is okay. I don't know whether teachers have participated in any kind of online programs. That feedback I would need, because then accordingly I can address them. I mean, by online programs, I mean maybe a school annual day, prize giving ceremony, Independence Day. Have they been a part of any kind of program during this practice teaching? Did they get a chance to?
Are you listening to our students?
No, Bhageshwari is just giving me feedback on this.
Okay.
If she knows about it.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, before the SCP, we had our school observations. So that was around 2 or 3 months back, and during that time, our students got exposure of observing co-curricular activities and also organizing some of them, but that was completely through online mode.
Okay. So that is what I wanted to address the next and the most, a very important aspect of school life. that the children have missed out on many creative ventures. Besides the teachers, of course, students have also. And here, whom I'm addressing, they're actually students also and teachers also. So you have all, some of them, as Bhageshwari is saying, have attended online programs, contributed in some way. But is the experience the same as what you actually go through normally in a school program? No, nowhere near it. I mean, it's almost as if it's plastic. We have also done it. But everything is missing. I mean, leave alone the warmth, the touch, nothing is there. Creative, fine. You do give them a platform to perform. But you will all agree, and some of you may be good in performing arts also, you will all agree, when does an artist perform the best? When he or she is in front of a live audience. That is what gives them the impetus to perform better, the motivation to do something to impress the audience which is in front of me. They also like a very nice interaction, a healthy interaction with an audience which is well versed with their kind of genre. But here that was completely missing. Even an award ceremony took place online. Now, just imagine you're the school topper, you're getting a certificate, but it's an e-certificate. You will be sent the actual certificate and trophy by post or by courier. And here you have been handed over by so-and-so of the school, and we all acknowledge. Is it the same? It is not. That they've missed out completely. And other all creative ventures. The school calendar, if you go through any other school calendar, I'm sure you must be doing case studies about school calendars and activities and how to plan these planners for the school. You must be all aware. It's absolutely full. It's difficult to in fact fit in dates when you have something new coming up in a normal situation. No COVID. Yeah, I'm not talking about post or pre, just normal times. But now, what is the situation? They've missed out on all these programs, small, big, all of them. Whether it's a simple debate competition. Now, again, a debate competition, you will say, ma'am, it's the speaker, he or she addresses an audience. Here also we have an online audience. So it is the same. Children have been able to participate. But again, a debater will give his best when he or she is challenged by another debater in his presence. That spontaneous reaction that you get from a debater is completely amiss when it is online. So that's what I'm coming to. The most important thing that we need to look at is that the children have missed out on all these creative ventures, including teachers. We need to fill in that gap as and when they come back. So try to change your teaching mode when you join back schools. Don't just keep the simple chalk and talk, or even if you have smart boards, so you go for the fixed modules thinking that, okay, that is going to really attract the children. No. Try to break from that system and make it more practical oriented. Learning by doing is the old term. Experiential learning is the new term. Try to involve them as much as possible and give them a platform to be as creative as possible. And that goes for all subjects. I'm not talking about one. I'm sure all B.Ed students know by now that there is a scope to be creative in almost all subjects. Wherever you can put in the creative aspect. Give that platform to the child because they have missed it completely. And each child has missed one academic year. Here, maybe another one to go. God forbid, but then you never know. If 2 years gone, I mean, let's say the child is in 6th standard, 7th and 8th gone during COVID times, straight away from middle school, the child is upgraded to secondary school. Imagine what all the child could have missed. Keeping all these things in mind, you need to create those platforms. Again, flexibility is very, very important. Now, when you are charting out the syllabus, the content for the unit tests, make it as simplified as possible. Because children are coming back with, as you have already discussed, so many experiences which they've gone through, which you need to now sort out. So if you immediately rush with syllabus, it will be very difficult for the child to perform. And we definitely don't want that a child who could have given, let's say, an X percentage of outcome to the school in his class, that output is not coming, because actually the reason is that you are overburdening the child. So it's important that you keep it simple as possible. And if you feel that individual activities are not helping, try to go for group activities. There again, you have to be a very good facilitator, good guide, but at the same time, be outside it. Do not participate with them, just guide them. That's very important. So keeping these things in mind, if you are able to do that, I'm sure when the child, whenever they join back school, even if they have missed such a large part of time sitting at home, they will be able to come back to normal school life as soon as possible. And that is what should be our goal. So now, Bhageshwari, am I audible? Bhageshwari, I cannot see her.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
you're
Yes,
ma'am. Yes,
Geetika
ma'am.
ma'am. If we can have questions also from students.
Yes, ma'am. The house is now open for questions. Anybody, if anyone would like to ask anything, please go ahead. And ma'am, we are really thankful for you for this insightful session. And we will definitely try and apply all this knowledge and be better future educators.
Now questions are invited. Ma'am, would you like to continue after the questions, or your part is completed?
It's almost complete. I mean, if questions come up, maybe I'll be able to
Okay,
contribute
okay,
in a
ma'am.
different manner, a little
Okay.
more.
Okay, students, so now the house is open for questions.
Maybe if Shivangi has a question in mind, she can begin with, and the others can follow suit.
Not
Yes,
as of
ma'am.
now, ma'am. It was quite clear for me, as in you were quite clear in explaining that how we need to just not focus on, just on the part where we're teaching, we're using a blackboard, but we have to go beyond that. And what I could take away from the session is that we also need to focus on the not just the learning, but also on the counseling part, where we need to understand what they must be feeling.
Yes, very well said, and you have been able to get the synopsis of the whole thing. That's true.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am.
Yes.
So, ma'am, just a second. Ma'am, a situation rose up during the online classes scenarios when the online classes were at their best. So, ma'am, I personally know a teacher. She's in a government school. And there was a child in her class who didn't attend the online classes for around 2 to 3 days. The teacher called up the father, and when the father picked up the phone, he said that they have lost everything in their pandemic and they don't even have access to smartphones. So, ma'am, the teacher knew that the girl is very bright, so she had a spare smartphone at her home and was ready to buy a 4G SIM and a pad. As the girl was very bright and she didn't want her to lose at her studies. But the principal made her stop, as she said, there are a number of students who are, not able to gather so much amount of technologies in order to attend these smartphones. And if we gave one student with one mobile phone, more will come up, and we will not be able to provide to so many students. So,
Right.
ma'am, my question is that, ma'am, the teacher, the whatever happened was ethically wrong. Right, and the girl who is a student was left without any access to education and her whole year will be lost. So, ma'am, if this kind of situation arises with us, so, ma'am, what should we do? Should we support that ethical part, or should we follow the principal's advice?
Okay, it's a very good question. In fact, a question is following another question. During the pandemic, who supported you? You will all say, ma'am, our families. But there are many people who are actually alone. They live alone. Okay. There could be old people also who are living alone. So whom did they bank on? They banked on the society. The society helped them. And we have read that in the newspapers throughout this year, how even, government services also, they also helped, they pulled in, besides the society pulling in. And that is how they were able to sustain. Now, coming back to your question, and how we relate the two. Here again, instead of not helping the child completely, although the principal had a point, you begin with one, there are many other people, children who deserve it. And what will happen when they all come and demand for one? You will not be able to give it. So rather than doing this, rather than buying a new set, what the teacher could have proposed to the principal is that let us go for, let us propose this to the entire staff, and whoever wants to give away an old mobile phone, because you see, when you are addressing teachers, there's a possibility that somebody could be having an Android phone which is now low on battery, they're not using it, they don't need it actually. In fact, at times there are gadgets at home and we don't know what to do with them, where to throw them, so we are actually creating e-waste in our country. So many times there is an extra, or you could be having friends also, because teachers are affluent, they have other friends who are affluent, they could be having. So a donation system could have started, and like that you could have collected more, given it to the students, to the needy ones, the deserving ones, needy ones. I think all of them should be at par. Another thing that could be worked out was the principal could have been asked to maybe look for a CSR. CSRs are done by many companies. Even our school, we have done it. We approached Samsung for it. And this was much before COVID. And Samsung readily, they did it. They sponsored the tabs also for the school, and LCD also for the school, and with modules also. There are many companies who do it. It's just the awareness that is required. As a teacher, you can also propose it to the principal, or you can also go ahead with it. You can also do some Reiki. Find out. Maybe there are many companies who you can approach, go with their proposal. They'd be ready to help. It's just that if you have a sense for helping out people, there is no stopping. It's just the awareness that is needed. So, like I said, this could have been worked out, and both ways it could have been. The students also could have gained, and ethically, as you put it, everybody would have been on the right side of ethics. I hope I've been able to answer your query.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask anything? Thank you, ma'am. I think when it comes to questions, so we are grateful, ma'am. We're really grateful for your time and effort that you put into this for us.
Thank you so much. I'll just end with 3 words, which maybe all teachers can make a note of and work on as and when they join back schools. One is empathy, and you all know why I'm talking about empathy. I've already spoken about it. Second is communication. The channel, the link should be open always. And third, perseverance. Don't give up. Like this teacher just questioned me about this actual situation. The teacher actually gave up after a point. She got an answer from the principal and gave up. Don't. Persevere. You will find ways of working out and finding a solution to these problems. Problems are not from out of the world. Problems come from the society. And we as individuals, we should be adept enough to find the solution to all these problems.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Ms. Bhageshwari Sharma to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shivangi. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us and sharing your vital thoughts and ideas for the 3rd time now. So we are lucky enough that the process of learning from you has been continuous for us. As we know that a paradigm shift has taken place due to the pandemic, and the effects are being felt world over on every single domain of life in some form or the other. Ma'am's lucid insights about the pandemic and its impact on education and teaching learning has helped us in understanding the role and expectations from teachers and also the stumbling blocks which are coming in their way. Ma'am's words and ideas, which are backed by ongoing experience, have again reminded us that a teacher has to be a guide, a patient listener, a facilitator, and a critical pedagogue who is able to mold her or his teaching as per the changing and growing needs of the child or the learner. Ma'am, we thank you for sharing your thoughts and wisdom with us and urging us to be more patient, sensitive, and humane teachers and future teachers. I'm sure that our students who are future teachers have learned a lot from you and they must incorporate the suggestions given by you when they start their teaching learning journey, either offline or online. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Hopefully it's offline very soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your time and sharing your valuable insights and perspectives with all of us. And we really look forward to more, associations with you on academic and professional level. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sparing your time. Thanks.
Same here. Same here. I also look forward to these associations. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we can end the session.
Yes, Pat.
Yes. Okay.